All right, Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu family. Going to tackle this week's starting a martial arts school small business question of the week. And this week's question comes from a good friend of mine who I served in the Navy with, who owns a school. And he asked what my thoughts are of when you start a school, whether or not you should be a part of a jiu-jitsu association. And what I decided to do is to answer it just to give both the advantages and disadvantages, because it's both. And you have to determine if that's worth it. A lot of times what happens with schools is, like whoever promotes you to black belt, you usually, that becomes the association that, your school is a part of when you open. That's usually what happens, but it's not always what happens, because it does come down to a business decision. It is friends, family, but most associations are not for free. There's a monthly or annual payment that you're paying to be a part of that jiu-jitsu association. So when you think about that, you have to ask yourself, am I going to get value for the money that I'm going to have to pay? It could be $100 a month, it could be a couple $100 a month. I've heard associations that are as much as $1,000 a month. So just realize that it's not just, this is who promoted me to black belt, so I should automatically just pay them whatever they're asking. I mean, that sounds great, but there is a limit, and some associations can be very expensive, and you have to determine, are you going to get value out of that? So some of the advantages of being a part of a jiu-jitsu association is, one, name recognition for the association. That jumps right out because, whether it's a Gracie Baja or Alliance or, Gracie Humata or Carlson Gracie team or Atos, that's name recognition for your school, and that will help get you customers. So that's a definite advantage. Another advantage is belt promotions and recognitions with the IBJJF. Like when I opened my school in 2016, I was a no degree black belt. So that meant with the IBJJF promotion standards, I could only promote somebody up to purple belt. So I would need to be a part of an association where there's a higher level black belt to promote somebody to brown belt and then promote somebody to black belt. So if you're not a part of an association and the person that promoted you is not going to continue to promote you, you have to figure out, how am I going to promote these people? Because when I opened up, of course I had a lot of white belts, but I also had brown belts that transferred over from other schools or moved into San Antonio, purple belts, blue belts. So I was like, well, how am I going to promote these people so they can continue to promote and compete in IBJJF tournaments if I don't have somebody that can sign off on those promotions? So that's a major factor. So I'll probably include the video up here, a link to it, where I talk about IBJJF promotion standards. And I know some people can be like, oh, I don't care about the IBJJF. Who are they to make rules? They run the biggest, most popular tournaments in the world. And if you're going to run a business here in the United States in particular, your students are going to want to compete in IBJJF tournaments. And so you're going to have to be able to give them their promotions and be recognized by the IBJJF, or it's going to cost you business. It's as simple as that. So some people, they do their own thing and they just don't do IBJJF tournaments, and that's cool. That's your decision. I don't care. But for me, I understood that, hey, my students are going to want to be eligible for these tournaments, and so I need to be recognized, so I continue to promote. And that's the other advantage of the association, is who's going to continue to promote you. Because you don't automatically get degrees on your black belt. Like somebody signing off saying, yes, Saad has been teaching for 3 years, he's been meeting all this requirements, and they sign off. So when I got my first degree, and then the same thing happened when I got my second degree, and then same thing will happen in February when I'm eligible for my third degree. So that's another advantage of an association, is there's somebody that's also going to promote you. Seminars can be both a positive and a negative, but I'll talk about the positive first. The positive of seminars is, one, that can bring more name recognition. There's people who are going to be a part of your association. They'll come in, teach seminars, for a fee, and that can attract other students, especially depending on the name of the person that's coming in to do the seminar. And it also can make your students better. That's one of the advantages of the seminars, is they learn techniques that, like maybe you don't necessarily teach, or, even things, like as a black belt, like I go to seminars and I learn stuff that, because I don't know everything. It's like, so I'm continuing to learn and continuing to grow. So that's another advantage of being in a jiu-jitsu association. But I'll talk in a little bit. Seminars can also be a disadvantage, and we'll look at that. And then another advantage is, like, especially if you're in a city like, say, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. So we get a lot of people moving in and out of the town, especially like military people or different businesses. And so let's say you're with Alliance, and somebody from Atlanta, Georgia moved to San Antonio, Texas. They would most likely go to your school because they would want to stay with Alliance. So that's an advantage, being a part of an association, is you will get people who from time to time move into your city that do jiu-jitsu, and they want to stay with their association, and you're in that association. So that's an advantage. Some of the disadvantages. One, association fees. They can be expensive. I've seen them anywhere from $100 a month to some associations are $1,000 a month. And it's like, are you getting value on that investment? You're paying this, like, what's the return that you're getting? Besides, this person promoted me, so I should just pay them whatever. Like, no, like, we're talking business here. So are you getting value for your association fees? Another thing is seminars. It can be an advantage, as I talked about earlier, but it can also be a disadvantage. Sometimes, like, I've never held a seminar at my school in the 8 years I've been in business and made money. In fact, I've held a lot of seminars and lost a significant amount of money. Years ago, I did a seminar. It was 2 black belts, and I flew them in, and they was teaching a joint seminar. And I had to pay both their round trip tickets. And then I had to guarantee them $2,000 from the seminar, regardless of what the seminar earned. It's like $2,000. Oh, and I had to pay for their lodging. And to my shock and disappointment, 10 people, I think I was charging $60 a person for the seminar. 10 people showed up. So that meant I lost $2,000. Matter of fact, more than that, on doing the seminar. But so seminars, like, people are like, oh yeah, seminars are great, and they are. But for school owners, in most cases, you're going to lose money on the seminar. Most cases. Now, like when I bring my instructor out here, I bring him out twice a year. We usually break even, or and then I just give him all the money that we make from it. But like, there's a minimum requirement, like, that I'm guaranteeing, like, you will make this, and I'm paying the round trip ticket. So just realize that you could be a part of an association. You're guaranteeing this, and sometimes, especially in jiu-jitsu, people don't realize that the jiu-jitsu seminar climate has changed dramatically. Like, it used to be, if you was just a black belt, man, you could go wherever. A no-name, like, not a famous, not a Gracie family member or anything, not a world champion, and you could go almost anywhere, 20 years ago, do a seminar, and man, the place would be packed. Today, most people don't even know who the world champions were 20 years ago. They'd be like, I never heard of it. And you could be somebody super famous, from 20 years ago that but it's like today they're like, I never heard of it. I just heard of Gordon Ryan, or like whoever the current stars are. So the business has changed with seminars, where now seminars, like, if you're guaranteeing this money for somebody to come out for a seminar, and you may end up losing money. And if it's a requirement for the association, like, most associations require you to do 2 seminars a year, for the head of that association. And so that could be a significant financial loss in addition to the association fees you're paying. So then you start to weigh it out, like, is this Is this worth it to be a part of this? Other disadvantages is there's rules that could cost you money. Like some associations, like my association, you have to wear a patch on your gi, but you can wear whatever gi you want. You know, there's a front patch, back patch, but you can wear whatever gi you want. So there's a lot of people, they love show your rolls. This is Haybrook, a really nice gi. Brazil Combat, Bull Terrier. Some people are even sponsored by different gi companies. And so for my association, it's a good deal for me because, you know, like people can wear whatever gis they want. Some associations, you can only wear, not only do you got to wear the association patch, but you have to wear the association gi. So that means the guy that comes in, or the lady that comes in that has the huge show your roll collection, or maybe sponsored by Atama, they can't wear their gi at your school. And that's going to cost you a potential student. Also, there can be things like, oh, you can only wear white gis, or some places it only has to be white, blue, or purple, or black. Some places are like, oh, it can't be two-tone gis, or you know, like the rules could go on down. Like for me, you can come in here in a tie-dye gi. I don't care. You know, like whatever floats your boat. You want to wear a pink gi, wear a pink gi. You know, you want a tie-dye gi, wear a tie-dye gi. You want a white top, black bottom, I don't care. Like, as long as it's not tearing. Like, I want it to be a jiu-jitsu gi. Like, don't come in here in a taekwondo gi and get all torn up. You know, because their material isn't designed for the pulling and tugging that we do in jiu-jitsu. But you can wear whatever color you want. So I'm in an association that, you know, supports that. Where some associations, you know, like it's only their gi. And not only can your students only wear their gi, or they have these rules, but you're required to buy so much merchandise from that association every year, you know, whether you're selling it or not. So you might just be collecting, you know, buying more and more gis from that association that people aren't wearing, but like maybe you're required to buy 50 gis a year, or like, you know, whatever the merchandise is, and however many rash guards. And so you want to check those association rules. Like, what are the rules? Because that's going to be another expense, another area that you might lose money on. So those are things to consider about jiu-jitsu associations. And so I would encourage you, I think jiu-jitsu associations are very valuable. I'm a part of one. I highly recommend it. But, you know, check out the rules. Don't just be like, hey, you know, like, well, you know, like, I've always trained with so-and-so, so I should be a part of this association, regardless of what the rules and regardless of what the fees or how much money I'm losing. It's like, no, it's we're running a business. So it's like, you have to evaluate whatever the fees are, whatever the rules are, is that going to be worth it, you know, for what that association is benefiting you for. So there are benefits and there are disadvantages. And as a business owner, you're just going to have to weigh it out. So that's my answer to this week's question of the week. I'm sorry I talk too much. I always shoot for like 10 minutes, and all these videos have always taken more than 10 minutes. So I apologize for that. My wife says I talk too much. She's probably right. I love my I was in the Navy for 33 years. I love to tell my sea stories, and here you go. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you got a business question or any jiu-jitsu question, feel free to fire below. And if you have any insights on your experience with associations, especially as a business owner, man, please feel free to share below, and we can all learn and grow. So till next week, ciao.